Здравейте на всички! Радвам се, че сме заедно днес. С нас в този първи уебинар от програмата, която стартираме заедно с АВО Езиков и изпитен център, е Румяна Михайлова. В АВО тя заема позицията академичен координатор детски и ученически курсове, но също така е и учител. И днес ще ви сподели интересни практики от нейният опит. Ще може да отговори на вашите въпроси, ако имате такива, така че ги задавайте в чата. Сега ви оставям с Руми.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me well too. As you can see, the topic of today's session is developing reading and writing skills in the young learner classroom. It's very nice to meet you. As you can see, my name is Rumi Mihайлова. Like you heard in the presentation, I'm also a teacher. I teach young students and not so young students from levels A1 to C1. And welcome. Today we're going to focus on the following things: why it is important to teach reading and writing skills together, some practical ideas for activities to improve students' reading and writing skills, and also how to recognize process and celebrate students' success by using certain criteria. Now, first, I'd like you to complete one sentence for me. Can you click on the link in the chat, which I'm sending right now? Okay, you can see it at the top of the chat. Can you please click on it and complete the sentence with an adjective? Teaching young learners reading and writing skills is... Okay, you can also write in the chat, of course, if you prefer. Is important, yeah. Okay, it's a very difficult task sometimes, I agree. Is fun. Okay, yes, it can be fun, definitely. It's difficult. It's essential, important. Yeah, I notice a few trends here. It is essential, it is important, it is sometimes challenging, but it can also be fun. Okay, thank you. Now, why do we need to teach reading and writing skills together? Now, reading and writing skills are just, reading and writing are just two of the aspects of language, and all of the aspects of language are, of course, interconnected. They're connected with speaking as well. They're connected with listening skills, literacy skills, which mean reading and writing skills also go beyond language. They are connected with the arts. There's digital literacy, there's numeracy, there's social literacy, and so much more. So why do we need to teach reading and writing skills together? Well, first of all, most of the exercises in the course books that we teach integrate both skills. Students, for example, have a reading text, and then they have to complete some sentences. This tests their writing skills too. Some writing exercises, all writing exercises depend on some kind of reading. Students have to read the instructions, students have to understand them, and have to write a plan. So all of these exercises that we use from our course books actually practice both skills at the same time. And when we think about it, there is no reading without writing, and there is no writing without reading. One cannot exist without the other. And according to scientists too, reading and writing actually are linked to the same cognitive skills in the brain. So we need to make sure that students work on those skills at the same time. So how can we do that? I have a second question for you, and I'd like you to write in the chat, or again, I will send you a link that you can follow and type your answer there. Think about your students. What topics are they interested in? You can type more than one topic, of course. You can either follow the link at the top of the chat and type your answer there, or write it in the chat. Okay, the war, yeah, current events, students are aware of, they comment on them. Computers, nature, animals, wildlife, music and dancing, computer games, relationships, yes, food, okay, sports and fashion, electronic devices, their friends, yes, their school life, different movies. Okay. Well, what do all these topics have in common? Well, what they have in common is that kids, and not just kids, but mostly kids, are very self-centered. They're interested in themselves, their likes, their dislikes, their daily life, their school experience, what they think about different things. So all of these topics are centered around them. And how can we integrate these interests into our reading and writing exercises that we use in class? Now I'd like to focus on some practical ideas for different activities to improve students' writing and reading skills. If we look at the Cambridge Young Learner exams, we can see that as kids progress from the beginning stages, for example, the first graders, second graders, where they learn the alphabet, moving towards level A1 and then A2, we can see that students progress from producing single words and reading single words to sentences and then to short texts. All of this is, of course, picture-based, which will be a huge factor here. And I'd like to start with the very, very, very young learners, 7 to 8 years old. What kind of reading and writing skills do we expect to see from them? Once again, if we refer to the respective Young Learner Cambridge exam, these are the writing and reading skills that are tested in this particular exam. The students can recognize and write all the letters from the alphabet. They can spell their names and simple words that they have studied. They can also copy words. Copying is also an important skill. Phrases and short sentences. So the skills that we are working towards are helping students recognize, in other words, read words, helping them read short sentences and texts, and making sure that they can spell single words. Now I'm going to suggest 3 different classroom activities that can help students develop these skills. The first activity is labeling things. Students can use different colorful sticky notes or little pieces of paper, and each student has to write the word on the sticky note and then stick it to the correct picture. This can be a picture in their student's book. It can be an object in the classroom, if that's the topic of the lesson, or we as teachers can print out different pictures and the kids can write the name of the object and stick it on the poster or picture. And this is a fun way to practice spelling. If we want to support learners, because some of them might not be very confident in their spelling yet, we can write the words on the board, provide them with the correct spelling of the words we want to practice, and they can just copy them. And the next stage, of course, will be students producing the words by themselves, spelling them by themselves. This can also be adapted for even younger kids with just the beginning, the initial letter. If they're studying particular letters of the alphabet, we can ask the kids to write the letter on the sticky note and then stick it on the correct picture of a word that starts with this letter. Dictations might be a very traditional school exercise, and I have found in my personal experience that the straightforward old-fashioned dictation might be very challenging at this level, especially when the children are not confident in their spelling yet. So instead of just the teacher dictating the students a list of words, we can do a different dictation with a twist. We can provide the words, we can provide the letters that the kids need to form the words, and we can make it fun by actually giving them a puzzle instead of just dictating the words. This way, students have an extra reason to write the words, and this is to discover the secret message. I have provided the link that I used to create this little puzzle, and it's free to use, no registration needed. You can explore it and make worksheets for your class as well. The third idea to help young students write and have fun is to do fun projects. So they can write, if they're interested in food, they can write the menu of a restaurant. They can also write party invitations, posters on different topics. They can write about their likes and dislikes. This can be adapted to a lot of different topics, such as food, sports, animals, films. They can also interview their parents and write about them, what they like. Finally, young kids enjoy drawing monsters and strange robots. So this is a fun idea to help them practice spelling of food words and also classroom words, to construct a little classroom robot, or to make a monster out of food. Now, moving on to slightly older kids, 9 to 10 years old, who you might remember from the beginning of the presentation, they're already moving from the word level to the phrase and sentence and even text level. If we look at the Cambridge English can-do statements for level A1, at this level, children can understand, they can read simple sentences, they can write simple sentences about themselves, and they can also write about their likes and dislikes. The skills that they have to work on in order to achieve that are, again, copying and spelling words. This time we already have the sentence level. They have to complete and write sentences about themselves or about the picture. And they also have to be able to read questions and respond to them. Here are 3 classroom activities to help students practice these skills. This one is write a sentence or a short story. And we can make this fun by using dice, because students don't know what they're going to get. If you want them to write sentences, we can give them 6 words, such as love, like, hate, I really hate. And then in the second column, we can provide some other extra language we want to practice. Actions, a kind of music, a kind of food. And students throw the dice, and they have to make a sentence with the words that they got. We can make it competitive by asking students to write a longer sentence, and whoever writes the longest sentence is the winner. This one is very suitable maybe for younger kids too. They can throw the dice, and they have to make a story with the words that they got. Of course, even if we don't prepare any pictures, we can always do this with words we want to practice, or we can just simply write the words on little pieces of paper. A student comes and draws a few of them, and then they have to construct a sentence or a short story using the words given. Another idea is to make use of the colorful pictures and photos in the course books. All of the course books are wonderfully illustrated, and the pictures actually add to the texts. So one idea is, before students read a text or a story, to help them think about the pictures. What is happening in the pictures? What are the people feeling? What might happen in the story? Why is it happening? And a fun way to do this is to take out the picture and ask students to write some captions. What is the character saying? What is the character thinking? As if they're writing a comic book. And this helps them focus on feelings and actually builds up their expectations, which give them an extra reason to read, just to confirm their expectations. So let's give it a try. You can see a picture of a young girl and her mom in the jungle on a trip. What are the characters saying? What's the little girl saying? What's the mom saying? Or what are they thinking? Can you write your ideas in the chat, please? What might the girl be saying? What might her mom be saying here? Look, a monkey. Okay. What a funny monkey. I think she needs some help. It's so cute. Be careful. Okay. Can we take her home? And actually, this is what happens here. They the monkey actually goes into the bag and travels with them to their house. Okay. Let's have a rest. Okay. And yeah, this is a fun way to make students think, even before they approach the text, to make them think about what's happening and then ask them to read so that they can confirm their expectations of the text. And they can do this on sticky notes, which they then stick in their students' book to make it a bit more colorful. Predictions, yes, they can predict what's happening in the story. And this also helps them to think about feelings and reasons, just to make the text come alive, and by putting themselves in the place of the characters. This also works with photos very well, not just with the illustrations. Okay. And here is another activity to practice both skills, reading and writing. And this is the so-called running dictation. Now, this one here you can see in the image is a bit more complicated than just the running dictation, but there is a description here at the link I have provided. So basically, we print out little sentences or even texts on pieces of paper. We put them on the walls in the classroom. We stick them there. And half of the students are writers, and the other half are the runners. One student is works in a pair with another student, and they have to dictate a text to them. They run to the text, they read a sentence, they remember it as much as they can, they run back to the writer and dictate it to them. They can also help with spelling. If the writer doesn't know how to spell the word, the runner has to help them with that. And then in the end, of course, the goal is to compare the texts and see if the writer has spelled it correctly. Then they can switch roles. This can also be adapted to younger students with single words, with shorter sentences, or it can be made more complicated for older students. But just from my personal experience, again, this is a very high energy, loud activity. So if students need to calm down, this is probably not the best kind of dictation we can organize, but it is really, really fun. And it helps them practice both skills. It actually gives them some more responsibility because they are the people doing the dictating and not the teacher only. The teacher, of course, can help, can supervise. It's just a bit of fun instead of just sitting and writing what we hear. Now, moving on to the slightly older kids are the so-called preteens, 11 and 12, who are already very interested in technology. They can use phones very well too. They're interested in a lot more things as well. We can see that the reading and the writing skills that are expected at this level become a little bit more complex. They can understand short text even if they do not know every single word. They can understand simple descriptions. They can write descriptions, definitions of different words. They can already link their sentences with some connecting words in order to construct texts. And they can also write short text like stories, messages, emails, short descriptions as well. So once again, copying words is still something that they need to be able to do. Reading and completing sentences and dialogues. And already, of course, reading short texts and also short texts, and being able to produce some of their own. One classroom activity that we can do with students of this age and younger is to ask them to write 3 sentences about themselves, one of which is false. And we can make this more structured by telling them what to write about. Maybe all of the sentences can be about technology, about family, about possessions that they have, about their holiday. We can make this a little bit more guided. And it's always fun if the teacher joins as well. by writing 3 sentences and having students guess which one is false. This can also become a communicative activity where students think about which sentence might be false, and then they provide reasons. I think that number 2 is false because I'm sure you don't have 2 phones, for example. If we take Laura's second sentence here, this can be made more communicative, and it's very motivating for students because they're reading their own classmates' texts. They're reading something that other students have produced, and they get to know each other as well. Another suggestion is to to actually ask students to work with reading texts in a slightly different way. So, of course, they have the reading exercises with true and false. They have text followed by the questions that they have to answer and justify with information from the text. But we can make this a little bit more student-oriented. So we can divide students in teams, in 2 teams, for example, and ask each team, based on the text, to write some true or false statements about the text. Alternatively, they can write questions about the text, of course, with some guidance as much as needed. And the other team has to answer the question, and if they do so correctly, they get a point. And this is quite actually different from the traditional reading exercises in their book, because they have to read the text really carefully in order to answer their classmates' question, because it's competitive. So this actually, I have found, really helps students get into the text and find questions that are very challenging sometimes. What they end up doing is trying to formulate the most difficult question or true or false statement about the text. Another sort of follow-up activity to that is, once again with the photos, I have taken these screenshots from several A2 level students' books. These photos accompany a text about this person. So as a pre-task, students can look at the photo and again think about what this person does for a job, how they feel, what they do. But after reading the text, we can actually ask students to write an interview with this person. And one student can write the questions for the interview, and another student will step into the shoes of the person that the text is about and answer the questions based on the text, or even get more creative and ask them some extra questions. So in this case, you can see the photo of the clown. And one activity I did with a group of students was, imagine you're talking to this clown. What questions would you like to ask them? This was before reading. And then after reading, some of the questions were actually answered. So let's give it a try, actually. Imagine you are meeting a clown, a real professional clown. What would you like to ask them if you could? You can write your suggestions in the chat. What would you ask a real life clown if you had the chance? Okay. Do you like kids? This will also, Are you happy? Yes. Are clowns sad? Or is this fun for you? Yes, exactly. This is pretty much what most students also wanted to know. Why did you choose this job? Is it difficult to juggle? Is it difficult to do the job? Exactly. Yes. Why do some people find you scary? Are children scared of you? Exactly. And this kind of questions before reading the text, before reading the interview with the clown, actually helped students, helped me as a teacher to generate some interest in the topic and see if if there are questions that they would have, would be answered in the text. And most of the time they are. But even if they aren't, students have had time to think about this even before approaching the text. The good thing about this that in their students' books, there are often texts about interesting people. So writing an interview with these people is like a further writing task that also supports reading skills. Another very fun classroom activity, which helps students work at the sentence level, but also at a text level already, is Lib exercises. There are a lot of those on the internet, and I have actually provided one website with free Lib resources. So this is basically a gapped story. For example, a trip to the park. And the words missing are different parts of speech. They are most often adjectives, verbs, people or names, adverbs, verbs, and adverbs. And we can choose a shorter or an easier story for younger kids too. And what we do is the text is hidden. Students can't see the story. Maybe they know the topic, maybe they don't. We ask them to think about adjectives, verbs, nouns, and we write them on the board, or they write them in their notebooks. And then we put the words in the story and we read it. And the results are always hilarious because students come up with the craziest adjectives and the craziest names of people, etc. And the story sometimes makes a lot of sense. Sometimes it's like a scary story. And this activity works great for learning the parts of speech, also text structure, because it's usually a story. And of course, the biggest benefit I find is it's really, really fun. So with all of these writing activities that we do in class and reading activities, we might also want to provide some feedback or even give students a mark, an excellent mark or a very good mark, in order to keep track of their progress and to motivate them. So I think it might be useful to look into the Cambridge Young Learner exams and how they are graded. So from levels A1 through A2, reading and writing actually appear as one single component. And the way they are marked at these Cambridge exams are with the so-called shields, where this skill has a maximum of 5 shields. And what these shields mean is they actually focus on the student's achievement, and there is no pass or fail. Every student passes, but the number of shields tells the student whether they're prepared to start the next level. So a result of 4 shields out of 5 already indicates that the student has covered the necessary skills for the level and can approach the next level. And I think that we can actually take away something from here, in that writing skills, yes, they should be marked, they should be assessed, but this we have to bear in mind that we need to focus on the positive and what students can do and how they can improve, instead of trying to focus on correcting their mistakes and providing more negative feedback. Regarding the way we can mark our students' written work, I believe it's important to give them a clear goal and to give them, as they are writing, plenty of encouragement and support. Students need to work with a model text. Asking them just to write a text without supplying a model might be very, very challenging for some students. So working with a model text, giving them feedback as they're writing in the classroom, giving them lots of praise and encouragement, and of course, focusing on what they have achieved. They have written an interesting story, they have written a fun story, or they have written a story with very good grammar, with very good vocabulary. If we set clear goals and praise students for achieving these goals, this can motivate them to practice more and write more, because at these lower levels, writing production will not be very accurate. It won't be written with good grammar, but it can also be lots of fun and very creative. One way to help students see their progress and to motivate them to progress even more is to make writing a fun communicative task where students write together or read each other's writing, think about how they can improve it. Writing an interview is one task of this kind because one student asks the questions, the other one writes the answers. It can be fun and communicative in this way. Displaying students' work on the walls of the classroom or on an online platform can be very fun because they can read each other's texts and get to know their classmates and see other texts written by students, which I believe is very important because most of the texts in the students' books that they learn are not written by students, and they might feel a little bit more formal and just different from the way that a child writes. So seeing what other students have written can benefit them quite a lot. We can also use these texts in class. We can give a student's text as a model or ask students to correct the mistakes, or of course, if they're going to correct mistakes, we also have to ask them to find something that they really like about the text, not just something that they would like to change. And these were my suggestions for some productive activities as well as assessing them in the classroom. So if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. Yeah, Wordle, definitely. This new game that lots of people have been playing can also be fun for students. Thank you for the recommendation in the chat, Stanimira. Okay, and regarding the question about homework, yes, with younger kids, it's become a standard, even at AVO, where I teach. Copy the new words 10 times for homework. This is definitely what we are instructed to do. There is no yes or no here. Teachers are asked to assign this kind of homework. So actually, this is something that we talked about in my previous seminar, which probably Ivanka hasn't attended. So what I can suggest here is, yes, we absolutely have to ask students to copy the words in order to learn the spelling and practice the spelling at home. But instead of asking them to write the words 10 times, 3 lines in this linear way, like just copy, copy, copy. For some students don't mind and do this and remember the words well. But yeah, with other kids, they just copy the words mechanically and do not learn them very well. They don't even look at the spelling and sometimes misspell the next word. So what we can do instead of that is, yes, we can ask them to copy the words, but not in this way, not asking them to copy them 5 times on each line. We can ask them to write the words in a little pyramid, letter by letter. So the first line will be the first letter, let's say G. Then on the second line, they write the first and the second letter, G-I, and then G-I-R. And it looks like a little pyramid. It can be like a pyramid or like little staircase. And this way they actually notice each letter from the spelling. We can also ask them to use different colors. We can ask them to try and cross the words like a mini crossword. We can print out something like that. Let me find the slide again. We can print a little puzzle or scrambled letters. And this is writing practice. Yes, they're not copying the word 10 times, but they're actually working in order to find the word. So this will actually help them notice the spelling more than if they just copy one word after the other. Another very fun thing, which works with very, very young kids as well, is Sudoku. And there are some websites free to use where you can generate a Sudoku with 6 words. Students learn 6 words, you print out a Sudoku for them, and they know how to play the Sudoku with numbers. So now they have to copy the words in the correct square in order to complete the little Sudoku board. So yeah, writing words 10 times sometimes is not effective because students tend to do it very fast, or even with misspelled words and without paying attention to the exact spelling. But if we ask them to copy the words in a more creative way, they might find this a little bit more fun.
И само един въпрос още дойде от Деница. Какви дейности можем да ползваме при големите класове 27-30 деца?
Oh, I can see it now. Yes, Denitsa's question. Well, 27 kids or 30 kids is always very tricky, and sometimes it does get really noisy, especially if you do something like the running dictation or the Mad Libs complete the story with the missing words. So if you're looking for some quieter activities, yes, students can work in smaller groups and collaborate on something, like write something together or check each other's writing. One activity that I wanted to include in my presentation, but I decided not to, is for reading, actually. Let me find the slide. Yes, for reading, for example, because yes, with teenagers and with older kids already, sorry, I just assumed that this large class of 27 or 30 students is older kids, but with older kids, what they can do is they read the text by themselves quietly, and they write 5 words that they don't know from the text, and then they exchange a little piece of paper with another group of students, and this group of students tries to explain the words, because some kids always know all the words and they don't know what to do, and they start talking with their classmates and passing notes and everything. But if they can help out other students and give them definitions to the words or answer their questions, then this can be an interesting activity. But yes, I'm afraid with such large classes, some of the games suggested might get a little noisy. So after doing such a game, students can settle down with a quieter activity where they write something in their notebook. Then they can swap their notebooks and check the words, check each other's writing, for example, with a model from teacher. Perhaps if it's younger kids, it's always good to have the words on the board. Otherwise, students might not be checking correctly. But I think, Denitsa, this is a topic for an even longer seminar about what to do with such large groups of kids and how to make sure that everybody has a task to do. Faster students, there are students who complete the exercises really fast and they have nothing to do. Maybe they can be given a task to help another student, to help them give definitions to the words, to work on something extra, like write a short text, write some extra questions to go with the text, just to work with something on their own so they don't get distracted.
Благодаря, Руми. Благодаря, Руми, още веднъж. Благодаря на всички и хубава и спокойна вечер от мен.